Science have been spotted that North Korea has started rebuilding guard posts that were destroyed under the 2018 Inter-Korean Military Agreement days after it scrapped the military pact. Similar countermeasures are being taken by the South. D-1 until the announcement of which city will get to host the 2030 World Expo. We take a closer look at the voting process in Paris and what to look forward to. Following the release of 17 more hostages held by Hamas, there's a growing call from the international community to extend the 4-day truce between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas, which ends in the coming hours. It's November 27, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Min. We start with growing tensions on the Korean peninsula in the wake of North Korea's spy satellite launch last week. Pyongyang appears to be increasing its military activities near the inter-Korean border following its recent termination of the 2018 military agreement in response to Seoul's partial suspension of the pact. South Korea's military says its guard posts near the border are being restored. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung begins our coverage.
The South Korean military has detected that North Korea has recently been working to restore its guard posts in the demilitarized zone right after it announced last week that it would restore all military measures and terminate the September 19th Inter-Korean Military Agreement.
North Korea declared the complete abolition of the September 9th military agreement on November 23rd. And since November 24th, the regime has been implementing measures to restore its military activities.
Pictures revealed by the military on Monday show that North Korea has dispatched soldiers and heavy weapons to restore its surveillance posts near the inter-Korean border. North Korean soldiers were also spotted on guard duty at night. Under the 2018 Inter-Korean Military Agreement, North Korea destroyed 10 out of its 11 guard posts near the border as part of efforts to reduce tensions. However, restoration efforts are now being seen at all 11 guard posts. The military added that North Korea's provocations have worsened near the maritime border as well, as the number of opened coastal artillery gun ports has significantly increased. South Korea's defense ministry says the military will be fully prepared to immediately implement countermeasures.
We clearly state that our military is closely monitoring North Korea's provocations and is fully prepared to punish North Korea immediately, strongly, and to the end, based on Seoul and Washington's strengthened joint defense posture.
Speaking to reporters on Monday, the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Kim Myung-soo, hinted at the possibility of restoring South Korea's guard posts as a corresponding measure, saying that it comes down to how the, quote, enemy decides to act. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol also ordered the chiefs of the Defense Ministry and JCS to maintain a firm military readiness posture so that the citizens can feel secure. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
South Korean military officials say North Korea's recent military spy satellite is orbiting the Earth stably. The officials, however, said it's too soon to verify the satellite's reconnaissance capability. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil reports.
A week has passed since Pyongyang launched a military reconnaissance satellite on the night of November 21st. On Monday, South Korea's Ministry of National Defense announced the results of an analysis of the spy satellite.
North Korea's so-called military reconnaissance satellite is currently believed to have entered orbit. This launch poses a great threat to our national security as, based on its ICBM-based technology, it can be used to launch nuclear weapons.
Military officials in Seoul also told reporters that the satellite is orbiting the Earth properly, but remained puzzled as to Pyongyang's claims that the satellite captured images of military bases in South Korea and the U.S. The officials added it usually takes months to verify the operational status of a satellite. Pyongyang's satellite launch led the UN Security Council to convene an emergency meeting in New York on Monday local time. 8 countries, including the US, the UK, and Japan, are participating, as well as South Korea.
Since the strategic value of North Korea has become very high, it might be difficult to get a meaningful resolution passed from the UNSC meeting, with China and Russia taking the North side, instead of blaming it.
North Korea's state-run KCNA cited a foreign ministry official on Monday who said the satellite launch was a legal and righteous exercise of self-defense and that those who try to, quote, violate the sovereignty of North Korea will face consequences.
North Korean provocations are not only a threat to South Korea, but also a serious threat to liberal democracies around the globe. It's very important for South Korea, the US, and Japan to strengthen security cooperation, especially in Northeast Asia.
Professor Kim added making good use of agreements made at the Camp David summit back in August would be essential. Gimcheon, Arirang News.
For the first time in over 4 years, top diplomats of Seoul, Tokyo, and Beijing held trilateral talks in the port city of Busan this past weekend. They agreed to speed up efforts to resume their leaders' summit. Our foreign affairs correspondent Pyongyang has more.
Top diplomats of South Korea, Japan, and China sat down for talks on Sunday and agreed to expedite preparations for the upcoming summit between their leaders. The three officials met here at the Durimaru APEC House in Busan and reaffirmed their efforts to hold a trilateral summit at the earliest convenient time. Following the meeting that lasted for about an hour and a half, Seoul's Foreign Minister Park Jin explained that the three officials have decided to put trilateral cooperation back on track as soon as possible.
We'll continue to work to make sure that the holding of the summit can be materialized in the near future.
Park's Japanese and Chinese counterparts, Yoku Kamikawa and Wang Yi, also highlighted the importance of cooperation between the three countries.
China will work together with South Korea and Japan to put the trilateral cooperation back on track and maintain a sound and steady development of trilateral relations.
I hope today's foreign ministers meeting could become the opportunity for the three countries to resume trilateral cooperation.
The last summit between the presidents of the three countries was held in December 2019 in China. It has not taken place for more than 4 years, largely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but also because of strained relations between Seoul and Tokyo. South Korea, as the chair of the upcoming summit, had hoped to hold the meeting before the end of this year. But the three countries have yet to agree on a specific date, and with a little more than a month remaining, arranging a meeting in 2023 is proving difficult. The Korean government is now reportedly aiming for it to take place sometime early next year. Meanwhile, ahead of the three-way talks, Park also held separate meetings with his Japanese and Chinese counterparts. While meeting the Chinese foreign minister, Park urged Beijing to play a constructive role in persuading North Korea to halt provocations. In response, Wang said China has always played and will continue to play the role needed to help stabilize the situation on the Korean peninsula. During talks with Japan's foreign minister, the two sides discussed issues including a recent South Korean High Court ruling that ordered the Japanese government to compensate victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery. Park reiterated Seoul's position that it respects the agreement made in 2015 with Tokyo, which says the two countries agreed to finally and irreversibly resolve the issue. But Kamikawa called the court verdict extremely regrettable and urged South Korea to take appropriate measures. Pyongyang, Arirang News, Busan.
President Yoon is back home, having concluded a week-long diplomatic agenda in Europe that involved a state visit to London and a support campaign in Paris. Correspondent Oh Soo-young has a recap and more.
Seoul is building its clout as a trusted security partner in the Indo-Pacific region. That's according to experts following President Yoon's visit to the United Kingdom and France last week. Emphasising their shared values of freedom, human rights and the rule of law, Yoon's Downing Street Accord with UK leader Rishi Sunak showed an unprecedented level of security cooperation between the two sides, featuring deals on supply chains and the development of sensitive dual-use technologies. Co-developing artificial intelligence and quantum technologies to target North Korean missiles, as well as cybersecurity, which could act as a bridge to strengthen Seoul's links with the Five Eyes intelligence group, consisting of the UK, the United States, New Zealand, Australia and Canada, was also part of the deal.
The willingness to share intelligence with other countries, in this case South Korea, shows a high level of trust in the government of South Korea, also in the intelligence gathering capabilities of South Korea, the military of South Korea as well, right? So in a sense, it's proof that South Korea is considered to be a reliable partner by all these countries. Now, on top of that, these countries can gather intelligence that South Korea cannot. For example, in the Middle East, for example, in Russia. Even if we look at China, for example, they have different assets.
Seoul also reaffirmed its value-based cooperation with Paris, agreeing to work together on AI and quantum technology as Presidents Yoon and Macron exchanged views on North Korea's weapons collaboration with Russia and the conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, particularly as South Korea begins its 2-year tenure as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council next year. South Korea has also been looking to multilateral platforms and like-minded partners to tackle global challenges that threaten peace, freedom and the rule of law in the international community.
First of all, because we have seen, as a result of growing US-China competition, but also the Trump administration being in office in the past, how South Korea has been looking at other potential partners, not to replace the US, but really to complement what it gets from the US-Japan cooperation with Korea is very much driven by specific security threats. And I think in the case of Europe, this is not necessarily the case.
Beyond security and economic interests, South Korea has also grown its capacity to contribute to global development. The country's bid to host the 2030 World Expo has been highlighted as the chance to foster global solidarity towards the goals of tackling inequality, climate change, and emerging digital challenges that affect all societies. Presenting Busan as the world's solutions platform based on Korea's own transformation from a war-torn nation to a digital and cultural powerhouse, Yoon has held over 150 summits with 96 countries since its inauguration last year. Usyang, Arirang News.
The Korea One team consisting of the government, business community, and Busan City is making a last-minute push for the South Korean port city's 2030 World Expo bid ahead of the vote by the Bureau International des Expositions in Paris. After arriving in the French capital on Sunday, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo engaged in diplomatic activities to garner support for the 2030 Busan World Expo. On Monday, he plans to participate in various meetings, including luncheons and seminars with delegates from BIE member states to articulate Busan's vision and competence. Leaders of South Korean firms are also putting forth efforts with a strategy of meeting country representatives with a request for cooperation, persuading them to expand business opportunities through the Busan Expo. The Citizens Committee bid for the 2030 Busan World Expo is also boosting final promotional activities, showcasing the city's competitiveness through events such as traditional hanbok experiences at Paris landmarks. Just one day left until the host of the World Expo 2030 is decided from among the 3 cities bidding for the honor: South Korea's Busan, Italy's Rome, and Riyadh of Saudi Arabia. Tomorrow at the Bureau International des Expositions in Paris, contenders will give their 5th and final presentations. Yoon shares what to expect from the presentation specifically by Busan.
The host city of the World Expo 2030 will be selected on Tuesday by the member states of the BIE at its 173rd General Assembly held in France. The meeting is scheduled to start at 9 in the morning with Expo progress reports. Then in the following order, the Republic of Korea's Busan, Italy's Rome, and Saudi Arabia's Riyadh will give their 5th and final presentations on their Expo projects for about 20 minutes each. Following this, the 182 member states will cast their sole vote for the World Expo 2030 host city. A candidate must get 2/3 of the votes cast to be selected outright. If no candidate achieves this target, there will be a second round of voting after the 3rd-placed candidate is eliminated, and the winner of a simple majority will be selected. The voting is scheduled for 4 p.m. local time, midnight on Wednesday in South Korea. Shortly after the voting is completed, the results will be revealed through the BIE's official account on X, formerly known as Twitter. Professor Lee Shin-hwa from Korea University shared with Arirang News her hopeful speculations on what message the final presentation should convey at this stage of the bid. Although Riyadh's bid, backed with a budget of over 7 billion euros, will not be easy to beat, Professor Lee said that she hopes Busan's representatives will give inspiring speeches and share the city's hopeful energy with others.
I'm hoping that Busan will be able to show its convening power to other candidates through its own success story in terms of economic, political, and cultural development. Events like expos act as a learning platform where countries share their unique potential and hold a national discourse. I believe Busan is a perfect place to be a bridge for other cities to share their success stories and vision.
Amid growing interest in who will be on stage for the final presentation, internationally influential individuals are expected, with people anticipating mentions of BTS to Ban Ki-moon, the former UN Secretary General. Lee In-hee, Arirang News.
South Korea needs to shift to a first-mover strategy to get out of the current low rate of growth by putting out products to the market first. That's according to President Yoon on Monday as he hosted the Presidential Advisory Council on Science and Technology at his office for lunch. For this, Yoon said a research and development system also needs to be transformed in this direction. In addition, he said the country needs to be turned into a global hub for science and technology by hosting researchers from around the world. He also talked about the R&D budget, saying to ensure that research is supported in a timely manner, preliminary budget feasibility checks need to be simplified and to make budget execution more flexible. Turning to the war in the Middle East, 17 additional hostages have been released on the third day of the four-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Amid calls from the international community urging an extension of the pause, Israel appears open to prolonging the ceasefire. However, it emphasizes that a ground operation will resume at the end of the agreement. Shin Ha-young has more.
As the temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is set to end on Monday, the international community is urging an extension of the truce. According to AFP on Sunday, France has expressed a need for the ceasefire to continue until all hostages kidnapped by Hamas are released. During an interview with French media, French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna urged for the release of the hostages from France and other countries, emphasizing the necessity for a further ceasefire. Earlier, U.S. President Biden also hoped a pause in the fighting would go on as long as hostages were getting released.
That's my goal. That's our goal, to keep this pause going beyond tomorrow so that we can continue to see more hostages come out and surge more humanitarian relief into those who are in need in Gaza.
Egypt and the Netherlands have agreed on the need to extend a truce in the Gaza Strip and take urgent action to deliver humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. Other Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia and Jordan, have also emphasized the importance of extending the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. On the third day of hostage releases on Sunday, Hamas released 17 hostages, including 13 Israelis, in exchange for 39 Palestinians who had been held in Israeli detention centers. 33 of the Palestinians released by Israel were teenagers. The Associated Press reports that Hamas is willing to release more hostages in exchange for an extended ceasefire. Citing sources close to the Palestinian militant group, they are willing to release an additional 20 to 40 hostages. With 58 hostages being released in the first 3 days of the four-day temporary ceasefire, so far it's still short of the reported 240 people taken captive by Hamas on October 7th. Meanwhile, in a video statement to President Biden, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he is open to extending the current ceasefire, but once it is over, the military's ground operation will return in full force. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
Time now to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. For that, we have our sports editor, Paul Nee, joining us in the studio. Good evening, Paul.
Hello there.
Let's start with baseball. The KBO held its annual award ceremony this afternoon. Who won the major awards this year?
Well, the MVP award went to Erick Fedde and the Rookie of the Year award went to Moon Dong-ju. American Fedde was seen as the standout candidate for the MVP award and won 102 of the 111 votes. He is the first foreign pitcher to win what's called the Triple Crown in KBO, to lead the league in wins, ERAs and strikeouts. This season he did just that by earning 20 wins with just 6 losses, 209 strikeouts and an ERA of 2.0. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Hanwha Eagles pitcher Min Dong-ju, nicknamed Fireballer, who also won gold at the Asian Games this September, was named as Rookie of the Year. He pitched 23 games this season, winning 8 with an ERA of 3.72. In April, he became the first domestic player in KBO to throw a 160km/h fastball. He's the first Hanwha player to win the award as well since a certain Yu Hyun-jin in 2006. Voting began back in October among the Baseball Writers Association, but the ballot box had been kept sealed until today.
Moving on to football and K-League, an instant return to the top division for Gimcheon's Sangmu.
Yes, and it was sealed in rather dramatic fashion as well. Gimcheon won the K-League 2 title on Sunday following a 1-0 win over Seoul Eland. But it was a result and one particular goal elsewhere that sealed it for them. Busan IE Park began the day top of the table, needing to match Gimcheon's result to win the title. Gimcheon's lead began in the first half of their game, but Busan's not until the 70th minute of theirs at home to Cheongju. Heading into the dying embers, Fessin's goal for Busan looked to be enough for them to return to K-League 1. But a late goal from George Louise made it 1-1. At this point, Gimcheon's match had finished and their players and staff watched the Busan match finish nervously on their phones. The goal meant that Gimcheon moved top of the table by 1 point and were then presented with the league trophy. Heartbreak for Busan IE Park, who'll have to compete in the playoffs instead against the team that finishes 11th in K-League 1. They begin on Wednesday, first with Gyeongnam FC against Bucheon FC 1995 in something of a semi-final and a rematch from last year. Both won on Sunday to seal their places.
What a drama. Well, let's talk about swimming. A couple of South Korean swimmers have qualified the World Championships in Doha.
Yes, that's right. Kim Woo-min in the 800-meter freestyle and Kim So-young in the 200-meter individual medley. In Gimcheon on Saturday at a national team qualification event, Kim Woo-min finished first in the men's 800-meter freestyle with a time of 7 minutes 52.84 seconds. This was 0.27 seconds faster than the record. In addition, Kim So-young won the 200-meter individual medley with a time of 2 minutes 12.12 seconds, beating the record by 0.86 seconds. And because they both beat the records, they qualify for the World Championships in Doha next February. Meanwhile, Hwang Sun-woo finished first in the men's 100-meter freestyle with a time of 48.57 seconds, but he fell short of the world aquatics record by just 0.06 of a second, meaning his place in Doha is in doubt.
And finally to tennis, the Davis Cup. A long-awaited win for Italy.
Yes, 47 years in the making for Italy. In what is seen as the World Cup of tennis, a team event, Italy on Sunday in Malaga beat Australia 2-0. Yannick Sinner overcame Alex de Minaur 6-3, 6-love to seal it. This came after Matteo Arnaldi beat Aleksej Popyrin 7-5, 2-6, 6-4 to put Italy in the lead. It's Italy's second Davis Cup, but first since 1976. Australia were looking for a 29th. Sinner played a huge part in the semi-final win over Serbia the day before, saving 3 match points against Novak Djokovic to restore parity, but the team then went to earn a 2-1 win.
All right, thanks for that. See you next week.
Thank you. See ya.
This is Park Seo-hui, the new weathercaster. I'm going to provide you with the latest weather updates from now on. Showers and snowflakes will continue to be in the forecast until tomorrow morning in most areas. Today's rainfall has brought frigid air nationwide. The sub-zero cold will continue throughout this whole week. With its sudden change to early winter, it's easy to come down with the cold or the flu. Please take care. For the coastlines of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-do provinces, dry weather advisories are issued. For eastern parts of the country, dry conditions are intensifying. With gusty winds, extra caution is necessary with anything that could start a fire. Icy cold morning temperatures in Seoul will start off at -3 degrees, Gwangju and Daegu 4 degrees Celsius. Daily highs in Seoul will return to positive range around 3 degrees, Chuncheon 3, Busan 11 degrees. The cold is expected to peak on Thursday, with morning temperatures in Seoul dropping to -7 degrees. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is News Center for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.
I'm live.
저를 도와주시는 분들이
저희와 함께 해주시는 세션분들
아무리 봐도 이거 없지. 텐션 같은데 아니라고 아무도 안 하는 거고.
좋아요.
Hello, I'm Ernei Müller, Ambassador of Slovenia to the Republic of Korea. Right now, I see Korea shining in the world. Korea has many strengths, and the global presence is already here. Slovenia will continue to establish the presence in the international scene. This is also one of the reasons why we opened the embassy in Korea last year. I always thank Arirang TV for playing a big role in promoting Korean information to the world so that many people can access Korean content and get to know all aspects of Korean culture. I hope that people around the world will continue to communicate and sympathize with Korea. Resonating the world, Arirang.
Presiding over Monday's cabinet meeting following his latest diplomatic agenda in New York, President
South Korea's economy will grow.
The central bank has kept its key interest rate unchanged.
Mission complete for rocket booty South Korea.
Seoul is rallying in hopes of bringing the World Expo 2030.
Arirang.
Welcome.
엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Hello everyone, it's Monday and you're watching Within the Frame. I'm Gimcheon. The host of the 2030 World Expo will be announced soon. Busan is one of the candidates, and apart from the expo bid itself, the southeastern port city has already been going through changes in terms of its logo and slogan as part of a revamp. Our guest today, Professor Ken Na, is in charge of renewing the Busan brand design. What does he think of Busan City's uniqueness in terms of design, and what does he have in mind if the city does win the expo bid? To answer these questions and more, Professor Ken Na of Hongik University, the master designer for Busan Metropolitan City as a brand, and a board member of the World Design Organization, joins us in the studio. Professor Na, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Now, Professor Ken Na, first question. Before we start, I'd like to ask about the importance of urban design and branding. Every globally renowned city has its own visual identity and its design. How important is branding in order to make a globally attractive city?
Right now, the all global city is competing against each other. So the futurists predict that in 2050, 70% of people will live in the cities. So it is not any longer the competition among the countries. It will be the competition among the cities. So each city is very working hard to make their city's image to not only the people living in the cities, but also the people all over the world. So the branding is really important. And the world-renowned city is not a world-renowned city because of the symbol and slogan. It is already in the high class. But some cities, they make a kind of a manifestation of their will to become global city by changing their slogans and logo. I think the Busan case is one of the cases that they will move forward. But world design, globally renowned cities, the brand is kind of the essence of all assets a city has. So what do you think when you think of New York? The first thing you think of?
I can think of I Love New York slogan.
Yes, exactly. In New York, there are so many good things. But how can you tell everything? So I Love New York is kind of how do I say, the wrapping paper. If you open the box, then every small Christmas presents are there. So each city's, the brand is really important.
Right, I see. So soon the competition is going to be not among the countries, but among the cities. And that's the reason why the image and branding is so important.
Yes.
I see. Now, Professor, we are going to talk about your thoughts on Busan, but before that, I'd like to ask you about Seoul, as you were the chief director when it was designated as World Design Capital in 2010. What changes were made to Seoul at that time?
At the time, Mayor Oh actually wanted to make Seoul as a city of design. So he actually planned very many things. And then one of the most important thing is the building Dongdaemun Design Plaza, DDP. So not only DDP, but also he changed the organization of the cities. So he made a deputy mayor as a design. So he changed the whole structure so that the whole city can move forward for design-centered cities. So not only Dongdaemun Design Plaza, DDP, but also the color of Seoul, the 10 colors of Seoul, and all the urban design, the street signs, a lot of things has been improved since Seoul was designated as the first world design capital.
I see.
And then from that, Seoul became design city in the world.
Right. Very interesting. So did the Dongdaemun Design Plaza constructed at that time?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I see.
We started over the designation of World Design Capital, but it took some time. So after finished World Design Capital, it was completed.
I see. I see. Now, Professor, let's now talk about Busan. You have become the master designer of Busan City. And compared to Seoul, what is Busan City's own uniqueness that could be valued in terms of designing?
Busan is a city with unlimited potential. I was born in Seoul. I'm one of few original Seoulites. But I've been to Busan so many times. And then one day, I realized that Busan is totally different from other cities in Korea, especially Seoul. So, north of Han River and south of Han River is two complete different cities, actually, divided by the Han River. But Busan, on one side is all the oceans, and the other side is all the mountain after mountain. So the city is in between the mountain and the ocean. So there is no division. This is all continuation. So from the old centers to kind of new cities like Haeundae or marine cities, where it looks like Singapore. From the old town to marine city, it is continuous gradation, no division. So this is a really interesting point. If I take the bus and then if I see outside of the cities, even I cannot do anything but to keep watching how it gradually changed the sceneries. Unbelievable. So Busan uniqueness is the continuous gradation. So I say, I don't know in English, 8-color bird or iridescent. So those are the words that I can use for Busan.
I see.
It's a really unique city.
So continuous graduation made because of its geographic location could be one of its own uniqueness.
Yes.
Right. Now, Professor, in the past year, we have already seen many changes that were made to Busan City. And first of all, the slogan changed from Dynamic Busan to Busan is Good. What does Busan is Good suggest?
Because Dynamic Busan, there is nothing wrong about it. But I think the slogan, Dynamic Busan, has done its role enough, successfully. Now, Busan is entering a new era. So in new era, they need new clothes. That's the beginning of the new slogan. And I really like the slogan, Busan is good, because in even every city in the world, if you see the slogan, I love New York, Seoul, my soul, all the slogans, ultimately what they want to say is New York is good, Seoul is good. But I don't know, for some reason they couldn't say. But in Busan, for the first time, is a clear manifestation of their self-confidence about their future of the city. So Busan is good. It is perfect slogan for Busan. Also, the slogan has, usually the slogan has has to have two features. One is adaptability, and the other one is flexibility. And Busan is good, has really good capacity for adaptability to many different medias, many different forms. But it has great value on its flexibility. Busan is good for, you can put anything on it.
Right.
Busan is good for living, Busan is good for food, Busan is good for
traveling,
yes. Everything. So it has unlimited potential of flexibility.
Right.
That's the beauty of Busan is good.
So slogan shows how confident Busan is, and it also has both of the aspects that the slogan needs, adaptability and flexibility. Right.
And also, one more thing that I'd like to add is that even though we suggest the Busan is good, but the real good point is not from the team that we designed the slogans and symbols. The decision process is more important. Because even a lot of cities, when they decide one slogan or one logo, they work out of maybe 100, maybe thousands. So most of the time, the decision making is the problem. So if they make a correct, right decision, then it could be much better than anything else. But Busan, the process of making decision to Busan is good is really the one that we really appreciated.
But why is that? Was it selected by the people of Busan?
Yeah, Busan people and the representative of the Busan cities and all the government officials and also including the mayors. Also, they listen carefully to all the experts who designed it. And then that's the beauty of the Busan is good, the decision process.
Right, I see. Yeah. So you like the decision-making process of the slogan.
Yes.
Right. I think you already mentioned how the Busan city also changed its logo. And as far as I know, it used an overlapped BNS.
Yes.
And I heard that it is the first time to have a logo in 3D.
In cities.
Can I ask you the reason why you chose this design?
Now Busan wants to innovate, so wants to change dramatically from the past. So that's why dynamic Busan to Busan is good. And then the symbol was quite old, like a seagull and Oryukdo and the mountains and oceans. So we need a dramatic change from the previous and the new one. So that's why we use something that other cities never tried before.
Right, interesting. Now, Professor, apart from the logo and slogan that we have talked about until now, how are you further planning to change Busan City's urban design?
Because the urban design, one of the important things is there are two big components of urban design. One is the buildings. The new buildings. And also how to remodel or how to keep the old ones. That's another issue. And the other one is called, we call our public design. So you see all the signage and on the streets and the subway systems, and also if you walk all the shops and restaurants, they have a big the signs. I think those are the ones that we need to change gradually by listening and by working together with the stakeholders. So if you put this size of the sign of the restaurant, the next door they put a little bigger and bigger, then it never ends.
Right.
Then that means that nobody watched, nobody sees it. So we're making a little more systematic way of looking better, nice and neat. So by looking at the signs, then people can have a feeling that, wow, the restaurant must be very nice and clean and well organized. So those are the issues that Busan has to do.
Right. So you have to have new buildings, and also would have to have systematic public designs.
Yes.
Right. Now, Professor, as you know, Busan City is currently working on an Expo bid. And if Busan City does win the bid, could there be any changes to your plan that you have already mentioned?
I think I think not much change, but the only change that I can expect is the speed.
The speed?
Yeah, once we won the bid, then it accelerates all the implementation.
Right, so you would have to accelerate the plan that you heard already mentioned if the Busan Expo bid gets to be won.
Yes.
Right. Now, we cannot leave out Riyadh and Rome, the cities Busan is currently competing against. Since you're a design expert, how do you evaluate these two cities, urban designing and their brands?
I mean, the Rome itself is a big, big design.
Right.
So, especially in Korea, there are a lot of Italian designers working in Korea. They actually studied architecture. But as you know, in Italy, there is no new buildings. So all one is the maintenance and restoration of the buildings. So not much work to do. So that's why a lot of Italians working in all over the country for designing other things. So in Rome, I cannot say anything but itself. But Saudi Arabia, Riyadh is a little different. I've been to several cities in Middle East. It's like new cities, especially the Neom city. It's a very ambitious plan.
Right.
If we could do it as planned, then it can be one of the miracles of the humankind.
Well, how do you distinguish Busan City's own, uniqueness from these two cities in terms of design?
In terms of design, the Rome, there is nothing to do in Rome. In Riyadh, there are a lot of things to do. But in Busan, every component of the city needs to be redesigned.
Redesigned.
Yeah, so it is more dynamic. It has more work to do, and with design, we can easily change the visual appearance of Busan to a world-class city.
I see. You can have more dynamic aspect for the designers to work on.
Yes, because it has everything. The high-rise buildings and old towns. So there are so many good points.
I see. Now, Professor, shifting gears a little bit here, you have been chosen as a board member of the World Design Organization. For those who might be unfamiliar with this organization, what role does it play?
Actually, the World Design Organization, in short we call WDO, formerly it was called ICSID. ICSID is the International Council of Societies of Industrial Designers. That's the kind of association of the industrial designers, the product designers of all over the world. So it's been already 70 years, and then now, as we can see, the industrial design, the definition of industrial design keep changing, and its role and scope is getting bigger and bigger. So the border between the product design, industrial design, and graphic design and media design is getting blurred, it's getting fuzzy. So that's why they changed the name from ICSID to World Design Organization. And another reason is that one of the projects that ICSID initiated is the World Design Capital. And then now World Design Capital, it has become a really good brand for ICSID. So that's another reason that they have to change the name from ICSID. It's hard to pronounce and hard to remember to World Design Organization.
Interesting. I didn't know it changed its name from ICSID to WDO.
And then now it covers almost all disciplines of design, so from traditional industrial design to architecture and graphic design and UX design. It covers everything.
I see. Now, Professor, like I said before, you will be working as a board member of the WDO for the next 2 years until 2025. Are there any goals that you'd like to achieve while working as a board member?
Yeah, even back in 2008, actually, once I tried to become the board member, because in preparation for World Design Capital, but at the time I failed, very close. So at the time, Korea was one of the major countries for ICSID. A lot of memberships from Korea, and as you know, the LG and Samsung and Hyundai are major companies. And then over the decades, this year when I see all the membership status, then Korea's membership shrink unbelievably. That means that the design of Korea design is reputation and perception over the global is becoming less and less. So one of my main purpose of as the board member is how to regain the power and the influence of Korea design in World Design Organization. And also a lot of Korean designers, they are really want to work in other countries. So there is somebody or some kind of a system that can bridge so that Korean designers can go other countries. So that's another role, not only for the board member, but also as a design professor, then I have to do it.
Right, I see. Now, Professor, I'd like to ask you many more questions, but we are running out of time. So I believe this will be our last one. You have already mentioned about South Korea's global branding status. In what direction do you believe the country should go in order to boost its branding status? I
think just the branding is nothing more than a cosmetic touch. The real thing is the people living in the city or in the country has to become global level. So people with good etiquettes, people kind to others, and all the restaurants and the shops, they have international standards. That's the really important things. I remember back in 15 or 20 years ago, when I drive, if I see somebody riding bicycles, then we honk.
Right.
Yeah, get away. But these days, nobody does. So the Korea, and the Seoul and Busan and all the cities should move that international standard. So I think that's the kind of a role of brand. So the brand can be as pretty as we can make. But the people actually living in there, it takes more time than we expected. So when it matches, then that's done.
All right, yes. I see. Well, thank you, Professor Na, for your advice. I mean, it's quite interesting to hear that people are the key in elevating the country's branding status.
Yes.
I see. Well, Professor Na, thank you for your time and insights today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. All right, that's all for Within the Frame tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.